What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I am Kaitlyn Kenneth Smith, and this is another episode 2 of Coach's Corner with myself and Marco from Silverback Media. Today, we're talking about something that quietly causes more people to quit on their goals than almost anything else. They don't actually know how to measure progress. Most people only track one thing: the scale, the leaderboard placement, or money. And when that one metric doesn't move fast enough, they assume they're failing. But what if progress is happening and you're just aren't measuring the right things? Today, we're breaking down how to track real progress, stay consistent long-term, and stop letting emotions dictate your decisions. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner with myself and Marco from Silverback Media. I got your name right this time. Look at me. I'm a little silly sometimes, and my brain just automatically said Marcus because that's like more familiar.
I didn't realize it, I think, until the very end of the recording. You said it like as we were getting done recording it, and I'm like, we're too far into it now. I'll be like, let's re-record that whole thing.
Just so that we can change the name. But got it this time. First of all, let me just comment. We are twinning today with our...
do we have the same? Yes.
We have the Blue Raspberry Ghost. I like this one.
It's so good. Yeah, the gas station right by my house just added Ghost to their energy drink selection. So they've got the Blue Raspberry. I think they've got orange cream, and it might be the peaches one. Might be the three flavors that they have. So yeah, Blue Raspberry has been this is a new favorite. It's a new favorite. So whenever I'm in need.
I'm not even like a big Blue Raspberry person, but I don't know. I just like this one. It's good. It's
for energy drinks. I feel like that flavor in general, it's hard to screw up. It seems like that seems to be a popular one that comes up. So I'm sure you have plenty of reviews on the Blue Raspberry lineup across the different brands.
Oh yeah, but what even is a Blue Raspberry, right?
That's a whole different question.
That's like almost as deep of a question as what is the meaning of life?
What was the one fruit punch. You did something about a fruit punch flavor drink, and I was like, I had never thought about the fact that fruits actually have to go into a fruit punch and which fruits might go in there.
It was a Monster. It was a Monster energy drink, and it was Punk Punch, and they listed out all the fruits that you should taste, and I was like, why did you just completely ruin the fun of fruit punch being just mystery? It tastes like red. We don't know what it tastes like.
There's so many of those little things that'll throw you off. You've seen the one with the arrow and the FedEx logo. That's like the things that you can't unsee. Yeah, I think I came across one recently. I sent to some people that I work with that they were like, thank you for ruining the rest of my day. It was somebody like drew lines on the cursor on your computer. Mm-hmm. It's not perfectly symmetrical. So someone drew lines from the bottom. Yeah. So if you have OCD, do not Google this. If you can tolerate it, if you can see this and go about the rest of your day, go ahead and search like asymmetrical like computer cursor or something like that. It will throw you off for a while. Yeah.
I think you just ruined my life. I have severe OCD, like legit.
I'm so sorry.
My life is ruined. Thank you, sorry, Marco. But let's jump into the topic for today's episode. So last month, we finished off with kind of like getting you into the new year, right? Like setting expectations was one of the biggest things we focused on, setting appropriate expectations when it comes to setting goals. And now we're going to talk about progress, because as we're almost done with February somehow, some way, I'm sure a lot of people are either confused as to how to measure progress, questioning whether they're seeing progress, or, let's be honest, done with their New Year's resolution because they chalked it up as it's not working, so I'm just going to try again next year.
Yep. And I think one of the big factors there is giving people multiple ways of measuring progress. That way you're not locked into your whole feeling about whether to even stay on this journey is dialed into one number or one metric, one specific metric, right? If you have multiple different ways to measure progress, usually, generally speaking, one of those things is going to be going in the direction you want it to, which is ultimately going to help you feel like, okay, I am making progress, even though it may not be readily visible through maybe normal means of how you would measure it. And I know we touched on this last time too, and this plays into it. It's a lot of these things are mental gymnastics, right? It's finding different ways to give you some sort of a boost to stay in it for another day, right? Because it's not like you're going to hit a goal and be like, cool, I'm done with fitness, I'm done working out, I hit that goal.
Yeah,
right?
not how that
The
works.
goal is to keep playing the game, is to stay in it for the long term. So having different ways to measure progress can help you stay in it for a little bit longer until you really see the actual long-term benefit of the work that you're doing. So these are kind of short-term things to just help you stay on the path, right?
Yeah, I feel, and the reason why this is such a great topic, I think, is because people quit their goals a lot of the times because they only track the outcome metric. So
Mhm.
people who are trying to lose weight, they only measure the weight lost on the scale, or athletes only measure progress through the leaderboard placement. Business owners, they only measure money. And when they think they're failing, they may not actually be failing because you're just not measuring the correct thing. Or you might be making progress in one area. For example, the weight loss person, they might be losing body fat and gaining lean muscle because they're getting stronger in the gym. It's not that possible to get stronger unless you're building muscle and losing, but
It'd be hard to do.
it's hard to do. Then they look at the scale and they're like, oh, it's not changed. I'm just going to drastically cut my calories even more. And then they mess everything up.
Yeah, and the weight loss, just because that's such a prevalent example, is I think is where we can start, right? It's okay. Let's say someone's on a weight loss journey, right? Doesn't matter how much weight you want to, but maybe we can go back and forth just thinking about, okay, what are some other ways to measure progress? And I like the way you put it because there's outcome based, but then there's also the input side of things, right? And like the
Yes.
things more under your control as an individual, that it's helpful to have a collection from both perspectives, right?
Correct.
You do need to measure the outcome. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
helpful to measure the outcome. You want to see that things are going in the direction you want it to, but you want to have a few different outcomes to measure off of. And then you want to have a few inputs. So that way, hey, if on a given whatever week or month that those outcomes are not going the way you want it to, then you've at least got the evidence to say I'm still maintaining a level of consistency through my inputs, through my habits, whether that's exercising on a regular basis, sleeping a certain number of hours, tracking food, or following your nutrition plan, we'll say, if that's so that way, that kind of generalizes more. But those are some things that are, significantly more under your control to say the outcomes aren't going the way I want it to. Did I do the things that will give me the best chance of the outcomes going the way I want it to? And then you can start to see how your own actions and behaviors start to influence those outcomes over the long term. But it comes back to focusing on what you have under your control, which is, did I follow the plan that I
Yeah.
have laid out?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's one of the biggest things I teach my clients is every single day, let's focus on what we can control and the things that we are putting into our journey, right? Versus, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. So the only thing that I'm focused on is losing the 20 pounds. What if we focused instead on tracking our nutrition appropriately, whatever the nutrition goal is, doing your workouts, drinking your water, getting your movement in, getting your sleep in? What if we focused on the process of the things that you can control? The outcome is going to happen. But what happens is people focus only on the outcome, that sometimes they start to skew the input because it's not happening the way that they thought it would. And it very rarely happens the way that you think it's going to happen. That's the reality.
Yeah. And then that's when you start to, like you said, stress the plan or deviate from the plan to make the outcome happen faster. Yeah. I'm sure we hit on this for a good long while last time, right? Where that ends up getting you into a pattern of habits. It's probably not sustainable to be able to maintain that outcome over the long term, which is then probably because then it's okay, cool, sweet. I hit that goal. Now what? Right. Now you've got to relearn a whole new set of habits to actually get into more of a maintenance down the road to actually keep the progress that you made, as opposed to trying to dial those in, maybe taking a little bit longer to hit the goal in the first place, but then actually setting yourself up for the long term.
Yeah.
And one of the things from an outcome perspective too, one of the things that I try to think of or that I would encourage people to do, and this is where, and I'm going to do this sooner because last time it was probably a good hour and 20 minutes before we even brought it up, but I'm going to say the C word. I'm going to say CrossFit, right? I'm going to bring it up early. I heavily encourage people that, and let's just go with someone that has a weight loss goal, to find some performance-based outcomes that they want to have. And the reason I bring up CrossFit is because I would look at it in terms of find a performance-based goal that's more cardio-based, one that's like some sort of body weight movement based, and one that's like a weightlifting type of movement based, right? It almost doesn't matter what it is, but those three areas, which are essentially the three main modalities of movement that CrossFit does and varies them so that way you can make progress over the course of time. Whatever, I'll keep my plug out of it. But being able to do that, and I'm just going to throw out some random examples. Let's say you wanted to run a 10-minute mile. That's your goal, right? And you also wanted to get your first pull-up. and you also wanted to deadlift your body weight, right? Those are three relatively related goals, somewhat, but guess what you probably need to do? You probably need to exercise very consistently, be on a plan. You probably need to fuel your body appropriately to be able to achieve those things. And again, this is assuming someone's on a weight loss goal. If you want to run a faster mile and do pull-ups and deadlift your body weight, it's easier to do that if you're at a lighter body weight. But the reason to look at it this way is you get the outcome of the weight loss by making yourself a more capable human being, as opposed to, just to take it to the extreme, let's say someone wanted to lose 50 pounds, they just starve themselves to lose that 50 pounds. Okay, cool. But what are you able to do with that now? Or if you take this opposite approach where you focus more on performance, get the weight loss as a byproduct, now you've lost that weight, but you're also a freaking walking badass, right? Because you've achieved these performance goals and now you're stronger and your body composition almost definitely has changed and probably the direction that you wanted it to go. And now you've got yourself set up with consistency in terms of exercise habits, nutrition habits, sleep habits, because guess what? It's hard to have all those performance goals that you hit without dialing those things in over the course of that time. So when you're looking at an outcome goal, those are ways you could start to look at it to say, okay, what would actually get me to be a more capable human being that also gets me the benefit of the kind of initial goal that I'm starting with.
Right. And I think what people don't realize is they're so obsessed with weight loss. Let's just say it how it is. A lot of people are so obsessed with, I just want to be smaller. I just want the number on the scale to be a certain number because they have some sort of emotional tie to it, whether it be, that's when I felt my best, or that's what I was in high school. First of all, change your expectations. You're not in high school anymore. You're a different human. You probably have different responsibilities. You have probably more muscle mass. But the reality is people who have less muscle mass are unhealthier than people who have more muscle mass. So there have been tons of studies done that even people who are just quote unquote skinny fat, who have less muscle than somebody who's a little bit more overweight but has more muscle, the person who's skinny fat is actually in a worse state of health. So many of us are so focused on, let me get that number on the scale to come down. We don't realize what's actually important is we aren't in an obesity epidemic. We're in an under-muscled epidemic. So you have to look at, Dr. Gabrielle Lyons talks about this, and she says, obesity is the smoke, but being under-muscled is the flame. So we're trying to spray water on the smoke when we should be spraying water on the flame by building more muscle, putting our metabolism in a healthier spot through protein intake, strength training, CrossFit being something that could obviously incorporate that. But people are just so obsessed with the scale that they don't realize that if they actually just focused on getting stronger, performing better, being a more capable human, they'd probably look the best that they've ever looked in their life and feel the best too.
100%. Yeah. And I think I don't know, you tell me what you think about this. I feel like the hard part with getting people wrapped around that is that you don't have as immediate a feedback.
Correct.
Right?
And that's
most people that have a weight loss goal, they can just go get a scale and keep it in their house and weigh themselves every day, however often, which by the way, just a side, and I'm curious your thoughts on it too, right? I only would recommend people weigh themselves often, let's say every day. I would only recommend people to do that if you can step on the scale, see the number, and just be like, okay, and then move on. If you feel like you're going to have some kind of an emotional response to the number, it is not helping you. Right?
Actually, I have two ways to do this. Okay. And I've changed my methods over the years, which I feel like that's how it works, right? It shouldn't always be the same. So I was always a proponent of don't weigh yourself. Just do it once a week or once a month or every 90 days. If I have somebody who's like getting into this and they've never gone through the process and they want to lose weight, but I'm teaching them how to do it the right way, building muscle, et cetera, so forth, eating more protein, then we're not weighing ourselves for 90 days. And then by the time 90 days happens, all the water fluctuations and all that shit will be over. And you'll be like, oh, I'm loving how I'm starting to look and feel. That the scale has less relevance, but it's probably going to go down if we've been doing the right stuff, or at least stayed the same. But there are in some cases where, and I've done it myself, to get detached from the scale emotionally, to weigh yourself every day, because you then see the fluctuations and you realize, I didn't gain 2 pounds of body fat overnight and then lose 3 pounds of body fat overnight. I'm just fluctuating with water, and that's just how it is.
I went through a stretch where, just for the sake of the experimentation of it, right? I was weighing myself twice a day. I would weigh myself in the morning and then at
It's
night before I
interesting.
went to sleep, just to see, oh wow, look at all that change, right? Thankfully, that was during a time when I wasn't necessarily focused on like a body weight change or a body composition change or anything like that, right? So I want to disclose that up front. But man, the amount of change you could see from one day to the next, or even just right before you go to sleep, after you've eaten food all day and drank water all day and everything you've done throughout the day, and then your body finally gets a chance to rest, and what that number then looks like the next morning, it's like that gets you very comfortable with, oh, things just happen in the body that are way out of our. I think that's an interesting component of it, and an interesting balance is like, from the outcome perspective, we are in a lot less control than we probably think we are.
Oh yeah. And
Uh,
I can tell this from personal experience because I have an eating disorder background and I feel like even though I'm stronger to it, I still really struggle with it, especially as I'm trying to perform better, gain muscle, and then eating more to fuel my performance. It's like a mind fuck. And so I would have a couple of days of really bad body image where I'm weighing myself every day and I'm like, okay, the scale is the same. And then I'd be like, I want it to be lower. Let me restrict a little bit today. And I would have slightly less carbs. And then the scale would be up the next day. And it's like, we can't actually control it. And the reality to that is if you put more stress on your body, you're probably going to hold on to more water because that's what cortisol does. So for somebody like myself, who I live in the state of stress, where like I'm trying to find this balance of being able to recover from my training and from the work that I do and from just my emotions that take toll on my body, right? And there are days where, especially after a tough training session, I'm sure you can relate to this. If you hammer legs one day, like heavy squats, deadlifts, the next day the scale weight's going to be up because you're holding on to water.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. We just had a gnarly leg day the other day. It was actually a 1 rep max back squat. And then the workout was like biking, kettlebell swings, lunges, and goblet squats, like just leg destruction. Right.
Yep.
And I woke up the next day. This way, I don't weigh myself very often, but I woke up the next day and I'm like, oh yeah, things have changed.
You can just
Things are
feel that
different.
too. I had a client who messaged me and she hasn't been weighing herself because she can get very emotional about it.
Mm.
So we've been focusing more on like measurements, how we feel in our clothes, how strength is. First of all, last week she's messaging me and she's like, I just hit 175 for 2 back squats. I'm just like,
Oh
bruh,
yeah.
like
Hell yeah.
she's 5 fucking 3. I'm like, girl. And she was like, I just hit
Baller.
like 120 for 2 bench press. And is that good? And
Hell
I'm
yeah.
just like, bro, like we should be competing in powerlifting. What are we doing? But one day after she did that heavy back squat, she messaged me and she was like, my legs are like 2 inches bigger than they usually are. And I was like, what did we do yesterday? A
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of legs. I was like, you're inflamed. And she was just like,
Mm.
okay. And then the next day, she messaged me again. She was like, so my legs are down an inch from where they used to be. So they lost 3 inches. And I was like, yeah, we didn't just lose 3 inches overnight. It's called water and inflammation. And I'm
Right.
like so happy that happened though, because I needed her to see that.
100%. And so there's two things you said in there. And one was just based off that interaction with that client, right? Oh, hey, I did this for back squat, this for bench press. Is that good? And I'm not saying this to your client. This is more just to me. The question of is that good compares it to everybody else, which is
Right, exactly. And that's the
technically
conversation, of course, I
irrelevant.
had to have with her. I
Of
just
course.
stated
Yeah.
it short end. First of all, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It
Yeah.
matters if you're doing better than what you were previously doing. And I remember
Dang.
when she first started, she was like, how do I back squat?
So now you're yeah. So 100, like, whoever you are, client, whatever your name is, freaking awesome, because you are better than the older version of you, and that's what matters, right? And
Absolutely.
that's where tracking these things, tracking workouts from a CrossFit perspective, this is huge, right? I'm sure you felt it too, where there's probably weights you do in a workout now where you're like, crap, that used to be like my 1 or 2 rep max for that same movement. But you
Oh,
don't know that
absolutely.
unless you have that stuff tracked and have that stuff written down. The other piece, just to close the loop on one thing we were just talking about, it's like we have less control over the outcomes of what happens to our body than we think.
Yes.
And the balancing act is we have significantly more control over the inputs and the behaviors that we do that lead to those outcomes, generally speaking, than we think, right? So I just wanted to close that loop because I didn't want to have someone walk away from it hearing that and thinking, I don't have as much control. So,
Yeah.
let me off
So just
the hook kind of thing.
let me
Right?
just
Like, no,
go and eat
no.
all of the Oreos. And I'm like, wait, you control that though.
Wait, yeah, exactly. It's like we can absolutely control that. And over the long term, the inputs will lead to the outcomes, right? But day to day, we have significantly less impact over the direct outcomes of like body weight, something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned measurements in there too, which I think is a huge one, especially for, and it obviously actually doing like tape measurements is super helpful because then you can compare. You can get something as basic as, hey, how do your clothes feel? If somebody hasn't like completely changed over their wardrobe, right? If they're starting to get some body composition changes, you may feel like, oh man, this shirt is a little tighter around my back and my shoulders now.
And that's something that people don't say enough, because people always say, oh, like how your clothes fit. And when you say that, somebody who's chasing weight loss is immediately, oh, my clothes should fit looser. But what they don't realize is your body is recomping in a good way, because most people come to me and they're not just like, I want to be skinny fat. They're like, I want to be lean and toned, which is okay. The way we get lean and toned is we need muscle on us. And you're going to look, even if you weighed the same, you're going to look significantly smaller and significantly better if you have more muscle on you. So it's going to be tighter on the shoulders, on the lats, on the booty, but it might be a little looser on the waist. But it also might be like, I can't get my jeans up because my quads are so big, and that's just the struggle of life. But I promise you that the people that you want to look like, because I get a lot of women who come to me and are like, I want to look like this. And then they're like, my jeans won't fit over my quads. What do you actually want, friend? I cannot do both at the same time.
Bestie, have a seat. We're going to have a little chat right now.
Yeah. Let's sit down.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That conversation comes up. Oh, this is where I was going to go. So one of the things that I like to, or I would ask people when I was working with them, right? Okay, let's say weight loss goal, right? I want to lose 50 pounds, whatever. Okay, we go through, and I know we talked about this last time, right? Of like really getting into that deep kind of exercise of, okay, why? What is it that you really want to do? And one of the things that I would usually, once we kind of work through that I would ask someone is, if I could give you all of the things that you just said you really wanted, and the number on the scale didn't change at all, would you take that trade? And almost every time, was a couple outliers, right? But almost every time they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, cool. So then let's focus on that, because that's probably going to be like, I'll give you one example, right? I had one guy that I was working with, that he was like, I'd really like to be able to do like strict handstand push-ups and chest to bar pull-ups and things like that. CrossFit member at our CrossFit gym. And so we're like, okay, let's focus then on improving your capacity in those gymnastics movements, right? Like when when you're in my class, let's double check those things. Let's work on some technique if those movements come up, right? And we'll focus on the nutrition habits, because guess what? Gymnastics is a little bit easier if you're lighter, if you want to lose weight, right? It's facts, right? But it wasn't focused on the weight loss. It was focused on how do we get you capable enough to do those things, and let the weight loss come as a byproduct. So that's something that, that people can think about, right? Is, okay, I want the weight loss. Why do you want the weight loss? If you could get the things in that why without the weight loss, would you still take it? Okay, then focus on those things instead, right? If the weight loss comes as a byproduct, which again, back to what we've been talking about, if it's more of like a performance-based goal, it will.
Yeah.
But then you're not focused on that number, and your whole feeling of whether the progress or the journey is worth it isn't tied to what one little slab of metal on the floor spits out as a number. Right.
Correct.
You've got a ton of different ways to measure whether progress is being made on that journey towards the outcome that you actually want, which the number on the scale is just a proxy for.
Yeah, there was one thing, and that reminded me of it, that I heard on Mind Pump. They've said it a couple times, and it is, if you chase aesthetics, health and performance probably won't follow. It's like, maybe they will, right? But if you chase health and performance, aesthetics will follow, like, period, end of story. And
100%.
I know that for myself is like, when I stopped chasing a number on the scale and stopped obsessing with taking up as little space as possible and trying to control all these things that I truly couldn't control. And I really just focused on, hey, let me get as strong as possible. Let me really focus on fueling my body, recovering, performing. I started to look the way that I've always wanted to look. But so many people never get there because they're so damn obsessed with that number on the scale, which, while we're on the topic, before we move on, I think that it's important for us to touch on why the scale isn't like the most important thing. Like, why does it fluctuate so much? I want to hear from you. What do you feel are some of the biggest reasons why the scale fluctuates that people may not realize?
Okay, so we've hit on a couple of them throughout this conversation already. So we've got muscle inflammation. So if you're consistently training and you're putting stress on the body, your muscles will be inflamed. Like the example we used of, hey, you've got a heavy leg day, your legs are now recovering from that, and they're going to hold on to water and inflammation, which could bump up your body weight from a short term, hey, one day to the next perspective. The other thing, and it's the old saying, is muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're getting stronger, and the only thing, if you're like you were saying, if you're getting stronger, high likelihood that you're building muscle. If you're building muscle and your body weight is staying the same, then you have less body fat. But if you're only measuring your body weight, then you may get frustrated, even though the progress you actually want is happening. Right.
Correct.
So if you're getting strong,
I do want to add to that before
yeah.
I forget. Muscle and fat, technically, like 1 pound of muscle, 1 pound of fat weighs the same, because people mess this up all the time. I know you know this, but I'm saying it's for other people, right? But muscle takes up less space than fat. So what he's saying is, if you have the same weight, but you're losing body fat and gaining muscle, you're going to look smaller.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Good clarification. Yeah. And if you think about like over the course of a weight loss journey, right? If somebody's trying to lose weight, if your performance is going up, let's say just in terms of, hey, your 1 rep max back squat or your 1 rep max deadlift, if that's improving and your body weight is not changing, then your body composition is changing underneath it all, right? That's where things like, if you had access to an in-body scanner or some sort of like body composition scanner, totally cool. Check that out, because you'll get a lot more numbers that'll give you that detail as opposed to just the one number on the scale. If you don't have that, totally get it. Hey, it's an access thing. Most gyms have it, but if you don't have access to it, totally cool. That's a way that you can absolutely think about it. Is body weight stays the same, performance is improving, chances are you're getting some recomposition benefits in there that you're not. The other piece that is huge, and it's taking me a long time to really wrap my mind around this, is sleep.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you have a shitty night of sleep, guarantee you that scale is going to piss you off, and then you're just going to be really sad. Yeah, no.
And you can follow that cycle too, right? If you have a bad night of sleep, that scale isn't going to give you the number that you want to see in the morning, which could be for a number of factors, but whatever, sticking on the sleep. Yeah. Then if you have a bad night of sleep, not only is that number not going to look great, but then you're stressed out because of the number, and pile that on top of the sleep. And now you're just like, you know what? Bleep it. Give me the double stuffed Oreos. I'm going to eat all of them.
Correct. Yep. And when you do have a bad night of sleep,
the spiral happens.
And when you have a bad night of sleep, this is something that I always tell my clients, is expect to crave things. Because when you sleep, your blood sugar gets all wonky. You are going to crave things that maybe you don't normally crave when you have a good night of sleep. So when you have that expectation to be like, oh, shoot, Kaitlyn said this is going to happen, let me have more protein at breakfast, or more protein with this meal, or let me just be aware of it, so that when those cravings come up, I don't just act, I actually process.
Yes. Yeah. And those are the days where I'd say it's probably more important to stick closer to the plan and give yourself less room, as best as possible, less room to think about if the plan is working. If you're short on sleep, like, just cognitively, you're going to have a rough day, right? So avoid as much as possible to use that day and use your energy to be like, is this even working? Is this even worth it? No, stick to the plan for that day, get a good night of sleep, and then see how you feel the next day when you wake up.
Oh yeah, willpower goes out the window when you're tired.
Oh gosh, yeah, so many things just go down the drain, and that is something that happens pretty quickly, especially if you start stacking bad nights of sleep on top of each other. Now, things happen, and sometimes you have, whether it's life, work, family, you get a bad few nights of sleep in a row, or whatever the case is, right? Let's get back to a normal sleep routine as soon as you can. But in that stretch of time, again, don't do your best to not allow your brain to just go haywire in terms of, crap, should I even be doing this? Like, those cravings are going to come up, and the more nights of bad sleep you stack on top of each other, the cravings will get worse. And so it's okay. Just give yourself a little bit of time to follow the plan, get back to a good night of sleep as soon as you can, and then get back to normal as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And very similar to terrible sleep comes in a women's menstrual cycle, because it's basically, you get the same damn things. You get cravings, you hold on to water, the scale is going to fluctuate, all of these terrible things. I actually had a client when I was a trainer at Crunch back in 2016. We did this challenge. It was like a get fit challenge. It was like a 90-day challenge to see who can lose as much weight as possible. Looking back at it, I'm just like, those things are so terrible and toxic. But I had a client who lost a good amount of weight, but every time she had her cycle, she would gain 8 to 10 pounds. 8 to 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
She was like a very sensitive flower. She probably had some hormonal issues going on. Now that I'm older, I understand these things. But at the time, it was just like, yeah, this sucks, but don't let it emotionally wreck you because we know that next week you're going to be back down to normal. And she always was.
Right.
But on top of
No.
that, it's like females have that issue where it's not as dramatic, but 2 to 5 pounds is pretty common for a lot of females, especially nowadays where everybody's hormones seem to be very fucked up. To know that, okay, it's my time of the month or it's almost my time of the month, tracking those things to understand that, okay, the scale is fluctuating. I feel a little bit more emotional. I'm craving more things, being aware of that and having a plan to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to worry about should I stick to the plan today? Stick to the damn plan. Don't let your emotions wreck you. Don't let them think that it's not working. It's working. This is life.
So in general, and because this way outside of my area of expertise.
Really? Is it? I didn't realize that.
For obvious reasons. So yeah, I guess for you, if you're working with a female client and that has is that generally your recommend? Like, how do you work with them through those? Is it really, hey, let's stick to the plan? Do you have people change anything? Like, I'm just curious from your perspective.
It depends on the person. So I used to have one client, I'll use her as an example, who she was always dialed in. So I never had an issue with, oh, she's not going to hit her macros. But during her cycle and like the week before, she would always crave more fats versus carbs. So what that tells me is her body might need more fats because she's so in tune with her body because, like I said, she was very dialed in. So what I would do during those times a month is we would keep her calories and protein the same. We would just flip flop carbs and fats to lower the carbs slightly, increase fats slightly, because that's what made her feel her best. But some people, it's the complete opposite. Some people like, I need more carbs. I need more energy during this time. So I think it's so unique. But one of the biggest like generalized things is don't overthink this. It's just your hormones, your emotions, like all these things are just fluctuating like crazy and it doesn't feel good, but it's temporary. And it happens to everyone, every female. And I'm pretty sure males have the time of the month. They just don't know when it is because they don't bleed.
No comment on that.
Yeah, moving on.
What about training recommendations? Do you do it like?
Oh, that's actually a really good one. There are so many, we'll call it bullshit marketers. And I call them marketers because they're not coaches, they're marketers, where they're like, this is how I buy my program of menstrual cycle training. Just listen to your body. It's going to suck, but just do it. Most of the time, when you exercise and it promotes blood flow, it actually helps with cramps and such. But it's just like doing it, getting started. As somebody who I haven't had a menstrual cycle since 2012 because of my eating disorder, I lost it. And I still haven't balanced out my hormones enough to get there. But I do have an ovarian cyst that's the size of a baseball. So once a month, when my hormones do slightly fluctuate, I know that's happening because I get horrible cramps from that cyst. But what I find for myself is it sucks to start, but once I get into the workout, I always feel better.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I think there's a potential qualifier I want to throw in there, and this is less about the cycle component, more about like how training relates to your goals. Because I know your goal from a training perspective is to make it to the games. That's not everybody's goal, and it's totally cool. Everybody can have their own goals. And that, so like for you, because I think we might have talked about this last time, for you, there's a little bit less fluctuation in terms of, hey, this is the work that needs to be done.
Yes.
Like, you got to do it. Right.
Yeah.
You gotta
it's
make
like,
it
I
really
can just sit
goal.
on my ass and not do it. But at the end of the day, that doesn't get me any closer to my goals. And I look at it as a job in a sense where it's literally it's a part-time job. It's almost a full-time job at this point.
Between all the mobility stuff and everything you're doing on
goodness, yeah, because I don't apparently once you turn 30, your body just says, "Now I'm not going to work properly anymore." Unless you, I remember back when I was like 25, I'd walk out my door and start running. If I did that now, my knees would break in half.
Wait till 35. No, it's a joke, but I'll come back to that. Just to close the loop on the training piece, right? If somebody doesn't have that same goal, which is probably the majority of people, don't have the goal of getting to the CrossFit Games. Yes, you still want to train consistently throughout that time, but also have a little bit of grace with yourself and modify where needed, drop the weight down if you need to. Like, some movement is better than no movement almost all the time, right? There's
always, I would argue like always all the time, unless you're like actually injured, right? Then maybe you don't be stupid.
Yeah,
I know what you're going to say, though, actually, because I am the same person where I had somebody comment on my post today, actually, where I was talking about I have a rib that's out of place. So I'm like hyperventilating my way through life right now because my chiropractors cannot. They worked on me for 20 minutes yesterday. He even brought in his other chiropractor to try. Couldn't get it. He's come back later this week. We'll try again. I was like, can I have my $50 back? Anyway. So the point is that somebody commented on my post. He was like, I have hamstring tendinopathy and I haven't worked legs in 6 weeks. And I was like, bro, you got to do something. You got to move. You got to do corrective exercise. Cause usually a lot of the things that people deal with pain, unless it's like a blunt trauma injury where it's, I smashed my knee and this happened usually its movement pattern is poor. And we need to fix muscle imbalances. And the only way to do that is through movement.
And that's where, like, even if you have some kind of an injury, one, there's only a small number of injuries that really take like your whole body out of the equation, right? Like lower back is probably one of those, but even then you could find something to do. Neck might be another one just because that's a tough one to tweak around with, right? I'll give you like a couple of years ago, I tweaked the meniscus in my knee. I was doing weighted pistols the day after heavy thrusters. Just stupid.
Lovely combo.
Meniscus in my knee. Very horrible idea, right? So I'm like, okay, I could take time off or I could go and modify stuff, right? So I think the next class that I went to had wall balls in it. And I'm like, sweet, this is great. I ended up doing seated wall balls, which if you've never done those, it basically is just an upper body movement where you're just throwing the ball up at the wall, obviously lower target. Holy shoulders, by the way. So like you can still, it's a little bit of creativity. And this is where, just to plug the CrossFit thing again, right? Get into a CrossFit affiliate that's where the coaches are creative enough to help you find some of these things. So that way you don't stress the thing that's already hurt or make it worse, right? One of the things I like to tell people if they come into a class of mine and they have something bother them, it's like, I want you to leave here better than when you came in. So if we've got deadlifts for that day and you've got a lower back thing or you got a hamstring thing, we're going to find something different that's going to allow you to still get a similar enough movement pattern, but it's not going to make that thing worse. So that way you can actually come back and keep training, which is the goal. I don't want you to be on the sideline completely. If we need to work around something, let's work around something, right? Yeah. That's related back to what your goal is, right? Where like for you, there's probably to an extent less negotiation you could do with yourself on those things. But for anyone that the goal isn't like the CrossFit games, you can give yourself some wiggle room and give yourself some grace. Find a way to get in the gym, modify what you need to, work with a coach, and movement is always better than not.
Yes. So like a good example is I have a client right now who she's been struggling to get her workouts in. She has 2 kids. Tis the season for kids to always be sick.
Yeah.
It's been a tough time and she hasn't been doing she does home workouts. So she hasn't been doing them. And I was like, look, this week I'm going to program one exercise every day and I'm going to put 1 to 3 sets of X amount of reps. If you get 1 set, awesome. That's the goal. 1 set. If you get 3, phenomenal. But the goal is just do something, because what so many people do, and I'm sure that people listening can relate, is say you wake up and you told yourself, hey, I'm going to work out today before work, but you wake up 20 minutes late and you're like, I don't have a full hour to get a workout in. Bro, you still have 30 minutes that you can do something, and something is always going to be better than nothing. I even say to the same client is, hey, on the days where like it's not happening, just do a nice little EMOM of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 5 to 10 minutes of air squats and push-ups, something.
My favorite one for things like that, if someone's like, I don't have time, death by burpees. Have you ever done a death by workout?
Always sucks. I did
every
it.
time.
Oh my God, bro. I have to tell you about this Echo Bike workout. It reminds me of
we always get there at some point where it's like this Echo Bike workout.
Per episode we do, there must be one Echo Bike workout inserted in here. So
go ahead. It
was a 20-minute EMOM. And so the first 10 minutes of this EMOM, it was 8-calorie Echo. So I finished in 18, 20 seconds and I had 40 seconds rest. And then at minute 11 through 20, you increased 1 calorie on each EMOM. So in my head, I was like, I've done an every 3 minute times 30 minutes doing 18 to 20 calories on the Echo. I can, in a minute, I can totally do this. And I started to realize, oh no, you don't get rest. You do a full all out Echo sprint and you have 20 seconds to breathe. So I think I got to 15 calories and I I was in so much pain. I laid on the floor for like 15 minutes.
First of all, that's why 50 after all the first chunk of minutes to keep repeating that, because like your rest is getting less and less.
It was so bad. I got to calorie 12, and I was like, I had like maybe 10 seconds, and I was sitting there and I was just like contemplating my life. Like, I'm not going to get off this bike. This is it. Like, we're in it. And I got to 14 and my chest hurt so bad from breathing. I was just like, 15 were just like, this is the minute I got to the minute where I should have done 15 and I didn't get 15. That's where I failed. So I finished 14 and I had 1 second left, and I was like, I know I'm not getting this, but I'm just here.
Yeah. It's like, we're gonna go anyways.
I messaged my coach and I was like, goodness. I failed, and he was like, you weren't meant to succeed that one. It was just like, let's fuck around and find out.
Because anytime
like,
you see death by on a workout,
awesome.
It's like But seriously, okay, I've got 2 good ones for you, and I'm going to sprinkle in some other kind of thoughts in between so we can balance people out, not just bury them with Echo Bike workouts. But I hope somebody's writing these down because they're all really good. Okay, so first workout, we actually had this one in class. It was actually part 1 of a 2-part workout, but the part 1 was bad enough on its own. I just went through the motions on part 2 after this. It was, I think we had a 6-minute cap. No, sorry, it was a 10-minute cap, but the goal was like 6 or 7 minutes. It was 20 burpee box jump overs straight into a 50 cal bike sprint. Yeah. And I think then the female calories was 35. Yeah. So
easy money. Easy money.
Yeah, dude, it was nasty because guess I got to send it on these freaking 20 burpee box overs because I don't want these to take very long. And it's holy crap. Now I've got to have something left in the tank for this bike sprint, but hopefully this only takes a couple minutes. I think me and another guy ended up finishing it like just under 4 minutes. It was gross. It was disgusting.
That's one of those workouts where, because I'm good at burpees, I would just like cruise on the burpees and probably beat like everyone on the burpees. And then I would actually just black out. Like walking up to the bike, you're just like, I'm about to black out. I've been in workouts where it finished with 40 cal sprint. And I'm just like, here we are. I'm going to black out. And what always happens is I send it for 30 seconds. I'm like, I'm already at 10 cals. And then holding on is hard.
Then after that, once your body's, hey, we can't send it anymore. It's all been sent. And then
I'm done sending. I have nothing left to send.
You're like, I guess I got to keep going somehow. I don't know. Yeah, that one, I think I just I pushed the burpees pretty hard. And then I was like, just get on the bike and get the pedals moving as fast as you can.
That's really the most important thing with most workouts is so many people. And I was thinking about this today because I was doing like a 60-minute cardio workout with no rest between stations. So it was like, it's so easy to dilly-dally when you're moving from thing to thing. Yeah. Because the more fatigue you build, the faster you think you're moving, but the slower you're actually moving. If you actually film yourself and you want, like during the open, if you film yourself doing a workout and you're like, why am I not picking up the dumbbell? I thought I picked it up so much faster. Bro, you're going slower than you think.
Yeah, you gotta move, like just pick it up.
Just start. I don't care if you get on the rower, for example, and you're moving a little slower at first just to get your breath. Cool. You're on the rower. Like just get to the rower and start.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because once you get that next thing, like we did another one recently that was 30 rounds for time. It was like a spin off of the hero workout Holly Man. It was 30 rounds for time, 5 wall balls, 3 toes to bar, 1 squat snatch. And that's obvious. You've got to be very fit to finish that. I think the RX weight was like 155 and 105, something like that for the squat snatch. But that's a transition game. And that's if you're not dialed in and disciplined on, all right, I'm going to do this movement and then I'm going to take a couple breaths and I'm going to start that movement. And then you just like, where people get lost on ones like that, especially where it's longer, is you start thinking about how much work you have left. And instead of just focusing on, let me just do this next set that's right in front of me. All right, I took my 2 breaths. Let me get on the pull-up bar for these 3 toes to bar. Okay, I took my 2 breaths, hands on the bar for the squat snatch. Now go to the wall balls. But it's very easy on one like that specifically where you get 5 rounds and you're like, holy crap, I have 25 more rounds of this. What in the world? Or, God forbid, you look at the clock. And then you're no.
Or you count the reps. Never, ever do CrossFit math. Like I had a workout yesterday where I was like, it was every 3 minutes for 30 minutes where it was 10 dumbbell push press, 10 burpees, and then easy ski at damper 10 in the time remaining. dumb. And I was like, oh, only 10 dumbbell push press. That's not a lot. And then I was like, oh, that's 100. Oh no, why'd I do that?
You're like, no. I did that with, so it was the dumbbell, I think it was 21.2, which was a repeat of a previous one. That was the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 alternating dumbbell snatch and the 15
Nasty.
burpee box jump overs in between.
Don't do that
still,
math.
it's still my favorite. It was still my favorite open workout because it's the first one that I ever finished under the cap. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's my favorite one for all time. A couple of years after it came up in 21, we were repeating at the gym where I was coaching, and I was coaching that day. And for whatever reason, I did the math, and that's 150 dumbbell snatches, which means you're not halfway done with it until you're halfway through the round of 40. And it's like, that's the kind of math where you're like, I really wish you hadn't told me that. Because
it's like any 1 to 10 or 10 to 1 workout. There was an open workout where it was 10 to 1. What was it? Deadlifts and burpees.
It was the deadlifts and bar. Yeah, it was 1 to 10 back down to 1. I still hope that one comes back, Dave.
Oh, dude, I finished that workout and I was like, oh my God, I finished it. I died.
I think I got down to the round of 6 on the back end, and I'm like, I want that to come back up now.
I feel like you, man, I'm good at burpees. Give me burpees. Right now, I can't burpee. I can burpee, but it's like a burpee with my rib. Like, ever burpee on a knife? Yeah, that's what it feels.
So speaking of burpee, so I would give, because, and then I've got one more bike workout. So like we hit on the lesson of, hey, some movement is better than no movement. Basically, always. I feel like that's a solid
agreed
statement. If anybody wants to throw some scenarios at us where they think that not moving is better than moving, send it. That's
dying
fine.
of the flu.
We'll take it.
Dying of the flu. I think that's like the only valid one. Dying of the flu probably should just rest. I feel like movement might not help, but
That's fair. So the other piece, and this kind of goes along with burpees, and even we started to saying like a death by burpee workout, right? Which you can do that literally anywhere. You barely need to warm up. And if it takes you longer than 15 minutes, you're like a savage amongst mortals, right? The other thing that I like to think, especially when it comes to, and the some better than nothing, that kind of really starts to attack that all or nothing mindset, which I think is critical, right? It's like, oh, I don't have an hour to work out. It's not worth it. No, it is. It's going to be less, and that's okay. The other piece is, and I heard a strength, I think it was Josh Bryant that does the Jailhouse Strong. Do you follow him?
I don't.
So I think I would check him out. He's a powerlifting coach, but really good coach. He's actually coached some like high level bodybuilders, like IFBB pros, like Olympia level bodybuilders. But he used to say, anything outside of your body weight is a luxury. Any equipment outside of your body weight, you can get so much done with just your body weight if you're creative enough. Right?
100%.
That's where like death by burpees comes into play. You literally need a clock, right? Start a clock every minute, you add a rep, and you just keep going until you can't do them anymore, right? You can do a 10-minute EMOM of push-ups and air squats. You can get sit-ups in. You can get maybe pull-ups. Obviously, you need like a pull-up bar or something to hang on to if you could do pull-ups. But like you can get a lot of work done. You can go for a walk. You can go do 20 minutes of walking lunges. Oof, that would hurt. I wouldn't recommend starting there. But my point is, right, is like you can get a lot. Yeah. I did that with a weighted vest on. That was not a good idea.
Same.
Ironically enough, that was when I was doing 75 hard, which we talked about last time. So
checks out.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. But the point is, you can get a ton of work done with just your body weight if you have that little bit of creativity built in there to say, okay, how can I structure this to get this done relatively quickly, relatively efficiently, get my heart rate up, and then move on about my day, right? Is it the best workout or the most optimal workout of whatever you could do? No, probably not. And also, who cares, right?
Yes.
Check the box that you got movement for that day and then move on about your day.
It's like with anything, right? So many people like with that all or nothing response, what they do is they just literally, oops, I messed up my diet early in the day. So screw the rest of the day. I'll just completely go off. No, don't. You can still probably track something and be fine. The reality is the all or nothing mentality is it happens and it sticks with you because you always tell yourself that you have an all or nothing mentality. Once you can break that cycle and show yourself that you are not that person, then that's who you become.
100%. On the breakfast thing with the all or nothing piece, that's something that I would tell my clients all the time was the reason you've heard the saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I would always tell people, and there might be whatever, this is maybe just my own mental component of it. I would tell people it's not because of what you're actually eating. It's not like a physical thing that's happening, but it's more of the mental setup of the rest of your day, right? If you have something that's on your plan, like on the plan for breakfast, there's a very high likelihood you're going to stick to the plan the rest of the day. But if you go off the plan for breakfast, there's a high likelihood you're going to go off the plan for the rest of the day. Not because of anything specific that you ate, but more because of what you think about what you ate, right? Mm-hmm. Which also means you could be off plan for breakfast and still be on plan for the rest of the day, right? You can make that choice. But if you stay on plan for breakfast, if you stay on the plan early in the day, that it's going to set you up better for the rest of the day, and it's easier to stay on plan. So getting off on the right foot there is a good way to get moving. I am going to throw in this second bike workout before we wrap up here. This one was one that a friend of mine, my old gym, he roped me into doing. I think it was an old Mayhem Compete workout.
Oh, that does sound terrible.
Yeah, it's not great. So it was 4 rounds, 10 burpee box overs. Or I'm sorry, you're working for 90 seconds, and then it's 10 burpee box overs and max cals on the Echo bike in the rest of that time with a 4-minute rest.
Oh man, that sucks. Because if I said I get 4 minutes of rest, no, that means you better send it.
You're going for it every single time. And I remember we got through 3 rounds, we were resting after the 3rd round, and I was laying on the ground for that whole 4 minutes. I'm like, I don't want to do round 4. I genuinely don't. I can't feel my legs. It was terrible. And then one of the things that he told me afterwards was that we didn't do this part, thankfully. But I think for the Mayhem Compete track, when they programmed this, after the 4 rounds, the kicker was that you had to keep repeating it until you beat your highest Echo Cal number in any round. So you had to keep going until you sent it more than you had previously sent it. Right. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. Kaitlyn's coach, if you're listening, take that one.
Don't do that, please. I have one today. My afternoon workout is a 5-minute AMRAP for 5 sets with a 3-minute rest. And it's 15 cal Echo bike, 12 deadlifts, and 9 hang power cleans. So almost a DT without the shoulder to overhead. We're just cutting out the shoulder to overhead because who needs that, right? Yeah. But I was just thinking about it, and I was like, oh no, I have 3 minutes of rest on that. Oh no.
Is that one, you said it's an AMRAP? Do you start back at the top each time, or do you pick up where you left off?
He didn't specify, so I assume start back at the top. Usually he'll specify if that's too much thinking for my brain. He probably knows that. Once Kaitlyn gets fatigued, she can't think.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, best of luck. I wish your legs luck on that one because
they're already pretty fucked up. But tomorrow is a rest day, so
there you go. Rest days are important, people. Take some time, take some active rest. You don't have to hammer yourself every single day.
100%. So I think the biggest theme of today is to have more measurement points than you probably think you need when it comes to tracking your progress, and to always focus on doing something rather than doing nothing, and not allowing your emotions to control your actions.
Feeling your emotions is okay. Allowing your emotions to determine your behaviors, that's where you want to draw the line.
No, that's where people mess up.
Especially if it's going to set you off on the wrong foot. Yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody's going to feel something. It's totally cool. Then it's, do you allow the feelings and the emotions to drive your decision making and the behaviors that you take?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the 2nd episode of the Coach's Corner. So next month we'll be back with a 3rd. And so if you guys have any recommendations on topics or any questions that you have, our emails will be down below. I'll put them in the show notes, and you guys always have our Instagram, so we will answer all your messages there. But other than that, Marco, do you have anything else to add, or we good?
That is it. Go sign up for the CrossFit Open, by the way.
Oh yeah, definitely do that.
I don't know when this is coming out. Hopefully it's going to come out before the Open, but yeah, it does. Okay, good. All right. So if you're listening, if you are within the sound of my voice and you do CrossFit, sign up for the CrossFit Open. It's a ton of fun. You will enjoy yourself.
100%. Yes. Awesome. Everybody listening, go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.